Hi everyone, my name is Peter. Thanks for joining me at Our Worship Sound. There's this Instagram account called Worship Fail, and they post videos of when things go wrong in a worship set. And one of the things that'll come up from time to time is a keyboardist will make a mistake with the transpose button, and that puts them in a different key with the rest of the instruments, and then the vocals are totally confused on where to go, and it's a bad situation. So in this video, we want to talk about how to transpose the right way. We can stop using the transpose button and avoid those kinds of mistakes. So transposition happens when we need to do a song that's in a different key than what the chart says, either because it's like the wrong range for a vocalist, or we just need to make the song fit better with other songs in a worship set. But regardless, we want to make the decision we're not going to use the transpose button anymore. We can learn to do it the right way. So first of all, the first thing that you need to do is learn your scales. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever told you to learn your scales, but hopefully I can be the one who helps convince you that it's going to be really helpful for you to do it. I have something to help you. We're going to use this scale reference sheet, and this is part of something bigger called the Music Theory Guidebook, and you can get that at ourworshipsound.com/music theory, and it has a number of things that will help you with some of these skills that we're talking about. When you use this scale reference sheet and you're learning all your scales, it lists all the notes for every scale. But what you really want to pay attention to are the starting note and the key signature. So when you're playing a scale, you want to be able to keep track of just where it starts and then what notes are sharp or what notes are flat. Okay, and if you can do that, you can figure out the rest of it, and it's just easier to keep track of. So for example, we're going to be working through this song a little bit, and this song is in the key of E. So we want to pay attention to the E major scale. And in our key signature column, it lists 4 sharps, so F, C, G, and D. All the other notes are natural. So what we're going to do to figure out this scale is we're going to start on E. We're going to go up the musical alphabet, and instead of playing all naturals, we're going to make these 4 notes sharp. So we're going to play E, then F sharp, G is sharp, A is natural, B is natural, C is sharp, D is sharp, and E. And that's all there is to it. We have the E major scale from there, just by keeping track of those 4 sharps. I have a whole video that walks you through how to put scales together and how to use this framework called the circle of fourths to help keep track of sharps and flats in those key signatures. But if you start to learn these scales, it's going to be really helpful to you as you transpose. Now, if learning all of the scales is too daunting for you right now, one thing that you could do is just that every song you play, figure out what key it's in, and then learn the scale for that song. And by learning scale, I mean be able to play through it and say the note names as you go through it. Don't worry about playing it fast yet. Just worry about being able to say correctly what every note is. And that's going to help you start build those connections. Once you've done that, you're going to be ready to go to the next step, which is to learn to play chords according to numbers. And so all that means is when we look at this chart, we don't just see an E chord, but we see a chord that's based off the first note of the E major scale. So we're going to call that the 1 chord. The next chord, B, is built off the 5th note of the scale. So we're going to call that the 5 chord. C sharp minor is the 6th chord because it's built off the 6th note of the scale, and so on. So when we start to think of chords as numbers, it makes it that much easier when we need to transpose to a new key. So for example, say I need to play this 1, 5, 6, 4 progression down a step in D major. I already know the D major scale because I've been practicing it, so I can play the 1, 5, 6, and 4 chords in that, and it just makes it so much easier to transpose. To help you along with this process of learning to play chords by numbers, there's another sheet in the Music Theory Guidebook called this chord reference sheet, and it lists all the numbered chords for each key, and you can use that as a reference as well. So to get started with this, one thing that you could do is for every song that you're learning, or every song that you need to transpose, print off the chart, go ahead and write in the chords for the new key. But before you do that, write in the number of the chord. So for example, if let's say we need to take this down to the key of D, first write in the chord numbers. So write a 1 next to the E, write a 5 next to the B, and so on. Then write your new chords. And that'll start to build that process towards learning to think of these chords by number. And one advantage and bonus thing that comes along with this is as you start to do this, you're going to start to hear what the 1 chord sounds like, and the 5 chord, and the 6 chord, and the 4 chord, and you're going to build the ability to play by ear. Okay, now it's not an instant thing, it'll happen over time, but start this process and you'll get the hang of it sooner or later. There's one more thing you need to think about in terms of transposing, and that is if you have any riffs in your songs or licks, like melodic figures that you need to play. For example, this song has, and so what you want to do with that is very similar to the chords. You want to think of them in terms of their scale numbers. So when I play within the E major scale, I'm playing the third note, the first note, the seventh note, the fourth note, and the third note. And then since I know my scales, that makes it easy to play those same numbers in D major of 3, 1, 7, 4, 3, or let's take something unrelated like B flat, and I can play 3, 1, 7, 4, 3. Okay, and it just makes it that much easier to transpose those things. Now let me leave you with one final tip, and this goes back to learning your scales. Okay, learn all of your scales, learn every scale. Okay, and I'm not talking about minor scales or modes. Those are all based on the major scales, so you don't need to worry about those yet. But when you practice your major scales, learn all of them, okay? Not just the familiar ones, because as a musician, you need to be ready to play in keys like F sharp and D flat. And that's part of our craft as musicians, is being ready for anything, okay? So learn all of them, okay? Now, one thing that I found works really well is learn your major scales in pairs, okay? And by that, I mean, take a note, learn the major scale on that note, and then learn the flat version of that note as well. So learn D, but then learn it in conjunction with D flat. So you're gonna end up playing a scale with sharps and playing a scale with flats. And there's some connections to be made about how those two key signatures for D and D flat work together, okay? Same thing for E and E flat, G and G flat, A and A flat, and B and B flat, okay? The only oddballs are C and F. You don't want to have to learn C and C flat or F and F flat. That's not going to make any sense. But learn when there's a black key below the white key, learn those in pairs, and you'll make some good connections that way. Okay, so learn to transpose the right way. Let's be done with the transpose button, and let's avoid all the mistakes that can go along with that. Okay, again, check out this music theory guidebook at ourworshipsound.com/music theory. There's one more thing I want you to do, and that is in the comments. Write your worship fail in the comments below and share your story of when you've messed something up in worship. And I'm going to be really impressed if you can write something that I haven't done before, because I've probably made most of the same mistakes at some point. But write your worship fail in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you out. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.